All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Ansley Long. I am a meteorologist here at the National Weather Service Atlanta, and I would like to welcome you to our special weather briefing for today, August 7th, 2023. So we've got hazardous weather for both today and tomorrow. Today we have an enhanced risk, a level 3 out of 5 for severe weather today, where our primary threat will be a damaging wind threat. And unfortunately, the severe weather threat will not be over for us. Tomorrow, we will see a slight risk, which is a level 2 out of 5 for severe weather across portions of central Georgia. We also have a heat advisory that is in effect today starting at noon and lasting through 8 p.m. So we have a couple of important forecast updates for you. As some of you may have noticed already, the enhanced risk has been expanded further south across our forecast area, and it really encompasses most of our forecast area today. But we also have an increased risk for damaging winds as well as tornadoes, primarily across North Georgia for this afternoon and evening. Tomorrow, our severe weather risk has also increased with growing confidence that we will see some damaging winds and strong to severe thunderstorms tomorrow across central Georgia. Just as a heads up, we are in the process of drawing up a severe thunderstorm watch for areas generally along and north of I-20, but we'll touch on that here soon. Overall, our forecast confidence is at a level 4. We're pretty confident that we're going to see some pretty significant impacts from this system throughout today. So with that, we'll dig into this a little bit further. So here's our current radar loop. We can see this line of thunderstorms that's currently moving across south central Tennessee. We're keeping a very watchful eye on this as this is progressing pretty quickly. And so this may actually kick off our severe weather threat a little bit sooner than models have been suggesting. So again, we're keeping a watchful eye on this, and we're going to be watching how this progresses over the next couple of hours. Taking a look at our current satellite loop over the southeast, currently we've got a couple of clouds across the forecast area. However, as daytime heating continues and mixing continues, we expect some of these clouds to potentially clear out. And what that's going to mean for us is we're going to have plenty of sunshine to destabilize the atmosphere for this afternoon's thunderstorms. Currently, we have instability that is forecast to range from 2,000 to 4,000 joules per kilogram of surface-based CAPE. So ultimately, this means that this is going to have or provide the atmosphere with plenty of energy to play with when those storms roll through later this afternoon and evening. But that sunshine is also going to mean another hazard for us. We do have heat advisories in place, again, from noon through 8 p.m. So that sunshine is going to warm things up, but we also have a good bit of moisture here at the surface. We've got dew points up into the 70s for today, and what that means is our heat index values could approach 109 degrees across portions of central and north Georgia. So I just want to make sure we're hitting the dangerous heat ahead of the storms today, because that will certainly be a threat. Again, for the severe thunderstorm watch, we are currently in the process of issuing that, so we'll update you all in Slack once we have that updated graphic for you. But we are expecting areas here generally along and north of the I-20 corridor to be encompassed in that severe thunderstorm watch through at least 8 p.m. this evening. So again, taking a look at our severe weather threats for today, we are anticipating the highest risk for severe weather between generally 3 p.m. and 10 p.m. However, there are a couple of caveats with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I'll dig into that a little bit later here in this webinar. But our primary hazard is going to be damaging wind gusts. We could see wind gusts ranging anywhere between 50 to 70 miles an hour within the line of storms, with isolated pockets of 80 miles per hour possible. So certainly going to need to be keeping a watchful eye on those wind gusts today. We are expecting widespread impacts from those wind gusts. Our secondary hazards will be hail, frequent lightning, but unfortunately our tornado threat has increased a little bit. We have a 5% tornado risk across North Georgia, so we'll be needing to also keep an eye on any embedded tornadoes that could briefly spin up within the line today as that moves through. Again, this is going to be mostly a damaging wind threat where we could see widespread impacts from downed trees and power outages. The highest risk currently is across North Georgia, but honestly, we are anticipating damage area-wide today. So to kind of put these wind gusts into context, we've seen several mesoscale convective systems, or NCSs, that have impacted our forecast area this summer. Really, the last major one was towards the end of July, where we had damaging wind gusts up to 80 miles an hour that hit parts of Pickens and Forsyth and Cherokee counties. So we saw widespread impacts from that in those areas, and we are unfortunately looking at a very similar threat today. So just be aware that we're going to be seeing impacts area-wide, even outside of North Georgia. So just wanted to make sure that we that threat is communicated, that we're going to be seeing widespread impacts similar to kind of what we saw a couple weeks ago. Moving on to our tornado outlook, the threat for tornadoes has increased across North Georgia, where we have a 5% tornado threat in these areas, but the tornado threat really extends as far south as I-20. So again, brief spin-up tornadoes will be possible today, embedded within the line of storms. And we do see hail risk, hail up to an inch is possible across really most of North Georgia and extending as far south towards Macon, but the highest risk will be in the extreme North Georgia locations. So while we are in a marginal risk for excessive rainfall, and really our day one QPF doesn't look anything particularly notable with the potential for rainfall up to an inch, really area-wide. We do have precipitable water approaching 2 inches in this morning's sounding. So if we get some pretty strong thunderstorms with really good updrafts, those storms could be efficient rainmakers, and we could see some short-term rainfall rates that will raise our concerns over flash flooding in certain areas. So we'll also be monitoring that threat. So here is the latest HER model. I just want to make sure everyone knows that this is just one model run. There are a variety of solutions on the table, but this generally encompasses what we're thinking for today. So this line of storms will be progressing southeast out of Tennessee and Alabama this afternoon and evening. We're expecting this to move in around 3 p.m., but we could see a little bit sooner. Again, we're keeping an eye on those storms now in central Tennessee. But one thing I want to note is that if this line becomes dominated by a strong cold pool, which is really what we've seen in a variety of cases over the summer, this line could actually be a little bit more organized, and it could progress further south into the later early morning hours of Tuesday. And so again, we'll be keeping an eye on how this evolves, but I just want to make sure that while we're thinking the best time for severe weather today will be between 3 p.m. and 10 p.m., if this line becomes dominated by a strong cold pool, that threat could go a little bit further south and last a little bit later into the evening hours. And that is really reflected in the SPC's southward enhanced outlook trend for today. So Again, we'll be keeping a close eye on how this evolves, but certainly expecting some widespread impacts from this. So just to wrap up our highlights for this special weather briefing, again, we have the enhanced risk, a level 3 out of 5 for severe weather that is expected to produce damaging winds of at least 70 miles an hour with isolated pockets of 80 miles an hour possible within the line. We are anticipating widespread wind damage that includes downed trees and power lines. We could see a few brief spin-up tornadoes as well, and hail up to an inch. Of course, in any thunderstorms, we will see the risk for frequent lightning, and today we can also, or we'll also need to monitor the locally heavy rainfall in case of any flash flooding concerns. Again, tomorrow we have that slight risk for severe weather across central Georgia. That's a level 2 out of 5. And we'll keep you all updated with that as we move forward in time. But our main concern right now is this enhanced risk with this initial line moving through this afternoon. So if you need us at all, we can always be contacted by phone. But now we also have Slack. So please remember that we have now migrated to Slack. We are no longer using NWS Chat 1.0. We're very responsive in the chat rooms on Slack, so don't hesitate to reach out there. But you can always contact us via our social media channels and our email as well. So with that, I will go ahead and wrap up the special weather briefing, and thank you for joining today.